Dallas would never be the same. The murder of a president, the murder of a police officer, and the murder of the alleged assassin, all within 48 hours, left scars that stretched far beyond November 1963. In this final episode, we look at what happened after the cameras stopped rolling.
There were three separate events that weren't related, but they became related.
Yep.
The murder of President John Kennedy, obviously, number one. Number two, the murder of J.D. Tippit, who was a Dallas police officer on the same day as Kennedy was assassinated. And then 2 days later, the murder of the alleged assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald.
The world saw Dallas as the place where a president was murdered. Inside the city, and especially inside the police department, the emotional fallout lasted decades.
Every November, all the officers around here are very curious of the incident surrounding November 22nd. So I would always pull in information and items to let the officers see the items we had that are connected to the President Kennedy assassination. But mainly, we wanted to focus on the Dallas police investigation of the crime of the century. Yeah, it was a black eye. It is a black eye in the city of Dallas, and it still is. But I wanted to emphasize that within a few minutes, that the Dallas Police Department arrested and through their investigation captured Lee Harvey Oswald for the killing of Officer J.D. Tippit and subsequently charged him with the presidential killing.
What was the atmosphere like? Was there a concern about the president's safety? Was he well liked in Dallas? What were the circumstances?
Well, initially I thought there might have been a problem with some Southern activists in the Dallas area. But if you look at the videos of the motorcade, Kennedy was well loved in Dallas, and there was nearly entire Dallas Police Department on duty that day for the president's motorcade, and thousands and thousands of people came out to see the president. Businesses shut down so everybody could go see the president's arrival. So it turned out the opposite. Kennedy was well beloved by the citizens of Dallas, majority. And there was a big security plan that was put into place. Nearly the entire Dallas Police Department was on duty that day. But it took that one decision of leaving that roof off the car that changed it, that could have changed history.
What many Americans don't know is how quickly federal power stepped in, and how tense the relationship became between Dallas police and the FBI.
I didn't realize that at the time Kennedy was assassinated, there was no federal law about assassinating a president. That this case would have been handled as it was being handled by Dallas PD, and that there was no federal pathway. That was shocking to me. I didn't know.
Yeah. And that's thanks to J. Edgar Hoover. That was that one call to J. Edgar Hoover, and the case was passed on.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. But apparently in 1965, 2 years after the assassination, Congress did memorialize this in a law that says, you can't, you can be federally charged for assassinating a federal official. So they made it official, but J. Edgar Hoover made it official because that's the way he operated.
Have you ever had a conversation with RFK Jr., or has anything enlightened the situation, changed for you since these files have recently been released by the government, say?
Yeah, I was waiting for the big the big ball to drop in that, and it never happened. I know for a fact that the Dallas Police Department did an extensive investigation on the Kennedy assassination. They did an extensive investigation of how Jack Ruby, or was there any Dallas police officers tied to how Ruby got into that basement. That's why Will Fritz had his Fritz detectives conduct, I believe it was a 6-month investigation, interviewing everybody that was in the basement, all the on-duty personnel that were around there, and there was no connection whatsoever of anybody that intentionally or knowingly allowed Ruby to get into that basement. And that was probably the biggest thing that angered the police department, that darn it, somebody got in there and shot our suspect who killed our police officer.
Jack Ruby's decision to step into history didn't just end Oswald's life. It permanently changed what history would never know.
He wanted to kill the person that killed the president and to be a hero. And this is Ruby's own words. When he saw that officer turn his back, he took the opportunity just to walk down the ramp and intermingle with the news media, because he looked like a news media person, and he, of course, well known, and he just took that opportunity to walk down that ramp and mingle. And of course, there was a time frame that they announced that the transfer was going to be made, and it was about at that time. So history just put Ruby at that right spot at the right place and time. And Jim shared with me that on the day after they decided to transfer Ruby to the county jail, Jim was the transferring detective, and he asked Ruby, said, "Jack, why did you do it?" And Ruby responded, "Because I wanted to be a hero, and I guess I messed it up." And Jim said, "Yeah, you messed up our case, because they couldn't have tried Oswald for the killing of the president and for the killing of Tippit."
With that one gunshot, the world lost its chance to hear Oswald speak in open court.
And I asked him, I said, if you had been able to get Oswald on the stand or try Oswald, could you have gotten a conviction for Oswald killing the J.D. Tippit? Without hesitation, he said yes, he would have got a conviction. And I said, how about Ruby? Would you? Of course, Ruby's on live TV, but having the prosecutor who was going to prosecute Lee Harvey Oswald to say that was pretty much something that I will always remember, that he, without hesitation, he said he could have got a conviction.
Out of tragedy came preservation and a commitment to remember those who lived the story firsthand.
Well, our police museum idea goes back to the mid-'70s, and some of the officers back then started gathering items, and it never really took foot for a very, very, very long time, until my good friend Jess Lucio, who's a retired member of the police department as well, was actively seeking donations. And it, like everything else, it's all about money. And the new Jack Evans Police Headquarters was being built, and Jess Lucio pushed very hard with his associates to get a dedicated space at the new Jack Evans Police Headquarters for the Dallas Police Museum. And the idea was sold when we had a police helicopter that was going to be the keystone piece of the police museum, ready to put in the police museum. And of course, the building had to be designed to hold the weight of a helicopter. And the city council, under resolution, dedicated some space for the Dallas Police Museum in the Jack Evans headquarters. And right now our helicopter is flying and still up in the roof. It hasn't fallen or crashed or collapsed the whole building. And it's just a matter of getting some fundraising. I came on board as the curator, and I raised enough money to do little displays, buy some display boxes. So it's been kind of a grassroots effort by myself and Jess Lucio to get some interest going for the officers to show interesting items.
So Rick, let me ask you about the museum again here. So it's in the police headquarters building. I think you mentioned that it's on the 6th floor. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic if you've got a helicopter hanging from the ceiling in the 6th floor of a building. But there's not too many police departments, at least that I'm aware of, around the country that have their own museums. So the museum itself, how accessible is it? Now, if you're in a secure building in a police facility, I mean, anybody within the agency can get there, but what about your average person that wants to go to this museum?
Well, let me make a correction. It's on the 2nd floor. And as you walk into the vestibule, there is a blanket of security that you have to go through to get to the museum displays. So it is a secure facility, but just go through the normal, like everybody else has to go through, the wanding, the x-ray, and you're free to walk around in the 2nd floor. The helicopter hangs right above you when you come in. It is one of our helicopters that was used in the line of duty for the Dallas Police Department. We honored 2 of our helicopter pilots in that helicopter with mannequins and likenesses of those officers that were killed in that helicopter crash. And up in the 2nd floor, we have a lot of art displays. There is some artwork that was donated after the 7/7/16 incident when our 4 officers were killed in the line of duty. But we have a lot of displays up there. So it's a nice time to look around and see what we have and what will be, because we'll have the Kennedy Corner, as I refer to it, and that will be strictly to show that and honor the Dallas Police Department and the citizens of Dallas for the work they did on November 22nd for capturing Lee Harvey Oswald, the killer of J.D. Tippit, and of course later the President of the United States.
Over 60 years later, the questions still linger, and Dallas continues to carry the emotional weight of that November.
Question that conspiracy will live forever of why Lee Harvey Oswald wanted to kill the president. He attempted an assassination of a general in the Dallas area. Well, the rifle that was used for the Kennedy assassination was connected to another attempted assassination in Dallas of a political, somebody that was a high-profile political person, and that rifle was connected to that incident. So Oswald had a mission to make a name for himself. My personal opinion, maybe if he did something, killed a high-profile individual, he could go back to Russia as a hero. We'll never know.
One of the things, Rick, that I heard, maybe you can comment on this, is that, and maybe this came from Laval, I'm not sure my source on this, but tell me if this resonates with you, that the thought was that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't kill John F. Kennedy. He killed the President of the United States. It just happened to be John F. Kennedy, that he was after the position as opposed to the person. Do you have any depth on that?
No, that could be possible. I think, like I said, I think he could be just have wanted to kill a president or a high-profile individual. That's a good theory, and so he could maybe go back to Russia as a hero.
Right.
Oswald came back to the United States thinking he was going to be a hero for being in Russia, and that didn't happen. So he wanted to show his heroism somehow to the Russian government. And there still are notes down, if you ever visit the 6th floor museum, there still are notes that the city of Dallas killed the president. And of course, on the shoulders of that lies the Dallas Police Department. And if I know all those officers that worked that day, that made him very angry and almost insulted that this occurred on their watch, because nobody wants to have this major world-changing event happen on their watch. So there was really an all-out charged to make sure that the Dallas Police Department did nothing wrong, that there was no ties to this assassination other than we made the arrest and there was no kind of conspiracy whatsoever. Even though there are conspiracy people out there that believe that there are conspirators within the Dallas Police Department, but history doesn't show. There's no evidence to indicate that.
Right.
And we did have a rift between the FBI and the Dallas Police Department for a long time, but that has since mended, and it is still a sore spot amongst some people in Dallas, and that's why the Dallas Museum will show that the Dallas Police Department and the citizens of Dallas solved the crime of the century without their help and without their hard work. And the poster behind me is from a show that Jim Lavelle's granddaughter did. It's called Capturing Oswald.
History often focuses on the shots fired in Dealey Plaza. But the aftermath, the fear, the confusion, the investigations, and the lives forever changed is where the human story truly lives. This series has been about the people who carried that weight, and in their memories, we find truth and the shared legacy of November 1963.